Welcome to the Popish plot. I'm Jessica.
I guess I'm Nate.
And I'm Mike.
This is weird.
We never start from the middle.
I know, but we're once again doing a book. This is not the whole book. For some reason, the public library didn't have all of Dante. Just, of course, the most fun part of hell.
Yeah. This is the famous part.
Yes.
We are continuing our inadvertent series of books by non-saints.
And also our series of books Nate hasn't read yet.
Yes, but neither one of you read this one, so.
You're not alone on this one, buddy.
So that's why I started.
Although, I will say, I had planned years ago to read the Divine Comedy, and my older sister advised me against it.
I've read parts.
Did she give reason?
No.
Okay.
I've read parts throughout time, and I've read the whole thing because I took a 3-part class on a online, free as long as you don't want the certificate, where it went through it, and then I finally understood what it was besides, the layers of hell and, yeah, isn't it funny? We put this one in this because it's exact opposite of what they liked.
So, we are, of course, discussing the comedy by Dante Alighieri, later dubbed the Divine Comedy, which is comprised of the 3 parts, the Inferno, the most famous part, the Purgatorio, and the Paradiso.
Yes, and he is, even though he's been long dead, not a saint, probably because if I was a pope, I wouldn't want to saint someone who put my predecessors in hell, even if they deserved it.
Even if he was not wrong, it's still, you're like,
However, if you were to name 5 facts you think you know about hell, 3 of them are probably from Dante. Mm-hmm. The 2 people who talk the most about hell are, of course, Jesus in the Bible and Dante.
Yep.
So
it is the best biblical fanfic ever.
So many layers, divided up by what you did.
Well, all those ironic punishments.
Yes. Satan is at the deepest level.
Well, and this is
frozen in a lake of ice.
And of course,
that is kept frozen by the beating of his wings. And were he to just stop trying to get out, he could free himself. But because he keeps fighting. Because
if you've lived in a hot place and a cold place, which one's worse?
And, of course, what is in his mouth? 3 traitors.
Which, I mean, he was writing in old-timey, so we all,
No. Treason is bad.
It is bad. I'm just saying.
Okay. Treason's bad, okay?
I'm pretty sure all modern people would put different people in there besides Brutus.
No. See, here's the best argument for putting Brutus in there. Caesar had pardoned him. He was a rebel. Caesar was magnanimous. And then he still stabbed him in the crotch. It's the ingratitude. So, Brutus, to hell with that guy.
All right, but can you name anything about Cassius besides the fact that he's in this book in the center?
He also was a rebel against Caesar. And, at least if we can trust the motives ascribed to him by William Shakespeare, he was all self-aggrandizing, and it wasn't for love of the Republic, it was for love of Cassius and his power.
Yes, I've read enough Shakespeare to know that he doesn't put the right motives in events in British history from the last 100 years, so I'm pretty sure his idea of what happened to Julius Caesar...
As long as you like Tudor propaganda, he's doing great history. If you want to know the history of things, sure. Again, it's fiction.
I mean, we'd all probably agree that, Judas was a good choice for the top 3 in hell.
Indeed. But, just something I learned from Bishop Barron, because again, I haven't read the Divine Comedy. The book starts off when Dante is in the midpoint of life, and he's lost in a dark wood. Because this is where almost all of us have found ourselves at one point or another.
Yes, and he was
the dark night of the soul.
It was not the dark night of the soul. The woman that he was pining after for years, even though she was married to another guy, died. So he's like, I have no chance now. I mean, I live in ye olden days. He might have died, and I could have, remarried.
I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of...
Well, but regardless, he was lost. He'd been on the path. He thought he knew what he was doing. And then because he was distracted, he'd lost the thread. And before he knew it, he was in the middle of a dark wood, not knowing where he's going to go. I lived most of my life in a dark wood until finally the Lord came and found me and was like, what are you doing over here?
So Virgil didn't, show up and then send you through hell to get to purgatory to finally get to heaven?
In many ways it felt like going through hell, but no, I did not have a Roman poet escorting me, at least as far as I was aware.
Okay.
We won't get into my time in the dark woods because it doesn't actually help this story at all. So
No.
Another time.
Yes, because the reason why I picked this book is, of course, one, he's not a saint. Are you going to make Dante a saint? he seemed to take joy out of, listing the various popes that were bad popes in hell.
Given enough evidence to prove the cause, I would do it. I mean, I just canonize him for no good reason.
We don't know if he lived a life of heroic virtue. There's a lot we just don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, this novel is written like a love-struck teenage girl.
He's Italian. They're very passionate.
And it was written in Italian.
This is not to suggest that any of our viewers out there who may or may not be Italian, that we are in any way equating them with young, love-struck teenage girls.
No.
Yes,
The
Mary B., please do not knife art tires.
The Italians know who they are. They know how passionate they are. Mary thinks I walk on water. We'll be fine.
She's starting to slash our tires before. It wasn't even a big deal. It was in Bible study.
I do think she was just joking.
I do too.
I mean,
she would back into your car first and then blame it on Don.
I mean, I would seriously hope that she was just kidding.
Yeah.
Please be kidding.
So Dante, finding himself lost in a dark wood, is met up by the Roman poet Virgil.
Yes.
Who takes him on a tour of hell, obviously. What next?
Well, then they go to Purgatory. And although hell is all the fun stuff, because everyone likes the,
all the ironic punishments.
It's so funny. Purgatory is really where it becomes a book worthy of being put on a religious show.
Ooh.
Because there's a lot of parallels between people in hell to people in purgatory. Which, again, that's why I needed a class with an expert on this to explain. So there's especially in the situation of lovers where, and the one, they totally followed their lust, and now they have to spend eternity whipping around this giant circle attempting to catch each other and never doing it. However, in purgatory, there's lovers who, they were not good and holy people in their things, but they repented. And so they're in purgatory, but, they're going to heaven, and there's even in the purgatorial suffering he shows, happiness in their choosing the right path.
Because they're working out all of their bad impulses and getting themselves right with God.
Yes.
Sure, it's a process. It's happy work.
Yes.
Not always fun, but happy.
And then, well, quite often for the heaven section, if you just looked at a rose window, you're pretty much sad.
So
it's really hard to describe heaven, having never been there.
Book your
he really jumps. He uses many, many words to do it. But
so book your flight to Chartres when things are open again, and just go stare at the rose window.
I mean, the church I grew up in has a rose window. You need to drive 20 miles. You're set.
But how good a rose window is it?
It's pretty good. It's a 100-year-old French Gothic church.
Fair enough. So I wonder if the reason why the Inferno is so famous is the same reason why, if you're giving a talk about God, not many people will show up. But if you're giving a talk about demons, you'll have an overflow crowd.
Oh, well, that's just... I mean, let's be honest, it's just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we went and did a reality show about a group of people who lived holy and righteous lives, it probably wouldn't make it to the first season, let alone make it through the first season.
So you're saying the reality show about the Missionaries of Charity would not become a franchise?
I'm just imagining from, Bill and Ted,
for the right,
with the
Joan
right
of Arc
doing
network,
aerobics
maybe.
where she's just genuflecting, crossing herself, getting up, genuflecting, crossing herself.
With the right production and then the right network, it might be, but I mean, in most cases, it's not gonna.
You're not gonna have the interpersonal conflict on which these things thrive.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or the what's the crazy thing they're gonna go and do next? Oh, they're all going out to the club. Somebody's gonna get drunk and punch somebody.
No, they're all going out to the slums and they're picking dead people off the streets.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Missionaries of Charity.
This latest book in our book collection is The Divine Comedy because, again, Bible fanfic, where you get your ideas about hell. And if you're taking a class online, remember that although the griffin represents Jesus in his two natures, he shows up in purgatory and not heaven. It's right at the very end. I totally got that question wrong.
Well, it must be because you then pass through Jesus into heaven.
There was like a chariot and he was pulling it. So yeah.
Yeah. Because ultimately, God's the one doing most of the work.
Yes.
Amen.
So go down below, hit that like button and the subscribe and the bell next to it so you get notified when we have new episodes coming out.
Comment below with your favorite part of the Divine Comedy.
Or
Kudos if you can tell us which canto it's in.
Or you could write about how if you were doing a fanfic of something biblical, what would it be about? Would it be totally about that chariot of fire?
Or perhaps you have a churchy book written by a not saint and you would like us to do a review of it. Well, you would like her and maybe him to do a review of it.
Although, honestly, by the criteria we're using, we can use any apologetics book published by Catholic Answers because they're all still alive.
There are many, authors.
I think we might be swinging just a little over our weight class with those ones.
I'm just saying, I like having ones where the answer is they're not a saint because number one rule is be dead.
Still alive. So Dante, totally dead. So he meets the first criterion. And again, Dante could be a saint. He could be in heaven.
For all we know, he's there right now.
He
watching this show.
It has never pleased the Lord to glorify him here on earth.
What would he be in charge of? Ironic punishments?
He could be the patron saint of the Italian language.
True.
That's where they got it from. It
wasn't fanfic writers.
It wasn't. Boom. They need saintly intercession. So
much.
Well, it's because if you're really good at writing fanfic, eventually you just transition to real fiction. So, we already did all the closing bits, so now it's Nate's turn. Although, no. The way we began, let's end that way. Jess, do you even know what to do?
Live your faith?
Love your faith.
Share that love.
That was so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
This is why I'm never starting in
but you got to do one that wasn't sharing one with everybody else.
It felt wrong.